So in this video we will discuss about next controlling function of a vendor account group, that is vendor status. So vendor account group determines whether the vendor is a one-time vendor. So we can create vendor master record for one-time vendors with one-time vendor account group. So what is mean by one-time vendor? So one-time vendor in the sense the vendor with whom we conduct business once or rarely. So here you can see a one-time account group records transaction figures for a group of vendors with which we conduct business once or rarely. So if we are conducting business for only one time or rarely we conduct, so there is no need of saving all the data in our system. So if it is a one time vendor, it doesn't make any sense to maintain master record for that vendor. So in that case what we will do, we will create a vendor master with help of this one time vendor account group. So what we will do, a one time account group records transaction figure for a group of vendors with which you conduct business once or rarely. See, certain data like address and bank details aren't entered in the master record, but rather in transactional document such as purchase order and all those things. See, if vendor is a once or rarely we are conducting business with him, see what happens, we do not wish to keep his details in our database. So what we will do, instead of maintaining his master record for each and every vendor with whom we conduct business rarely, for that we have this one time vendor account group. So it stores only required data, but the general data like address details and bank details will enter it in transaction data itself, not in master data. So whenever we go to create purchase order for this one time vendor, in that case we will enter vendor address and bank details. So it doesn't make sense to keep this vendor address and bank details with us, so with whom we are conducting business only once. We don't know in future we may or may not conduct business with him. In that case we will use one time account group, one time vendor account group. So this we can do by configuring one time vendor account group. So it is similar to whatever the vendor account group we have created, but some small difference is there. I will show it to you in the system. So see, we will go to vendor account group configuration. In that I will show you what is mean by vendor account group. So I already discussed with you about one time vendor account. So again I will discuss accounts payable and receivable. We are here under vendor accounts, we have master data. So under master data, preparation for creating vendor. So here define account groups with screen layout is there. In under this one, if you execute this one, see here we will define vendor account group. For one time vendor account group, only small difference is there. So CDP and CDPL are, see I will open this CPD is there, right? See, this is a one time account group. Only difference is if you tick this checkbox in account group configuration, it will become one time vendor account group. So this we can control whether it's a one time vendor or not, we can control by this vendor account group. So if you want to make this account group as a one time vendor account group, so you need to check this tick box. So in SAP we have two standard one time vendor account group, that is CPD, it has given predefined actually, CPD and CPDL. So by description you can understand one time vendor with internal number assignment and external number assignment. So this is the controlling function where we will do whether the vendor account group is a one-time vendor or not. So if you want to configure your own vendor account group, you can copy existing vendor account group and you can give your own naming. So this is how you configure. See, we have configured our own one-time vendor account group. So now you know how to configure one-time account group. So I will show you the difference between normal vendor account group and one-time vendor account group. In transaction, I will create one vendor master. So I will display, already I have created one vendor account group, one vendor master with this vendor account group, one-time vendor account group. So I will open that one /xk02. If I open, see, if this is the one-time vendor account group, one-time vendor I have created. See, company code 9860. See, in meanwhile I will open one more vendor master, so which is regular vendor master. So there you can see /xk03. What is the difference? So this is the regular vendor I have created. So in general data is same, but in case of you come next screen, see, in controlling you can see only limited data is there. So we are not going to maintain all the details here. See, in regular vendor we have all the details here related to this vendor. Whatever the vendors we are maintaining against this vendor account group, we will maintain all the details. But in case of one-time vendor account group, we maintain only limited information about this account group. So remaining details you will maintain in transaction data. That is, while creating PO, whatever the data it is missing from this screen, that is in vendor account group, you will maintain it there. So whatever the finally what we will do, whatever the data we require, will fetch from both vendor master and transaction data, that is PO, or that is from PO. So I will show you next screen. If I come here, payment transaction, see, we are not saving any details, bank account details and all those things in one-time vendor. Again, if you see regular vendor payment details, you will see bank key, bank account number, account holder, all those things will enter in master data itself. So for this account group, we will enter it in transaction data. So only this is the difference. If you go through these screens, you will get the idea. See, in case of accounting information and accounting, here you can see only limited data we are storing in master data. Remaining data we will enter it in transaction data. See, you just go through, create one vendor master for account group one-time vendor and one with regular vendor, and just compare the screens, you will get the difference. And I am going to create transaction data with this one-time vendor account also. So we will execute one cycle, P2 cycle, with the help of this vendor. So I will show you what are the details we will maintain in transaction data and what are the detail it will fetch from master data. So as of now, you just keep it in mind. One-time vendor, in the sense, we will use this vendor account group for the vendors with whom we are conducting business or transaction rarely or once. So this is the another control function of a vendor account group. This, whether the vendor is a regular vendor or one-time vendor, we will decide. When it is a one-time vendor or a normal vendor, we will decide it by vendor account group. Next we will see partner function.